Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 132. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me.
Yeah.
And listen.
Where we at?
You know where we're at. It's Thursday night. We're at Boomers. Thirsty Thursday.
Is it?
Artie straight drank them out of award-winning Pabst Blue Ribbon. So we're having to indulge in some other frosty beverages. Should also say right off the bat, got a special guest with us in the house.
We do.
Simon Samano. You know him. Hopefully you've seen his byline on MMAjunkie by now. He's been around for – how long has it been now, Simon?
Ooh, we're going on 8 months.
8 months already. And finally, we get you in Vegas. We get you on the MMA Roadshow. What's up, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here. It took 8 months, but here I am.
So we're gonna make it memorable. Let's just say right off the bat. I should say we're bringing the energy. We're trying to feel good. We're trying to get into it. I will say, especially for us here in Vegas, it has been a tough week, man. There is no doubt about it. Sunday night, we don't need to get into news and politics and all those things, but it has been a very, very tough week here in Las Vegas. Just hard squat to everybody, man. I was watching the news earlier, and now that I guess all the families have been identified and everybody's been notified, the names are getting out there, and man, they were just playing the images of all the people that lost their lives on Sunday night, and there were so many young people, which I don't know why I just didn't think about it right off the bat. It's not Thirsty Thursday, is it?
No. I was like, are we trying to do that?
Oh, yeah.
It's not.
It's Wednesday,
Damn,
Holmes.
I'm not even getting free beverages. Oh, my God, I forgot it's Wednesday. Jesus.
I didn't know because we are taping this early. That's what normally we would say we're taping this early. And I was thinking, I was like, wait, is he on the fly? I was like, are we trying to?
Nah, it's just habit. I thought it was Thursday.
That's because that's some like.
It's Wednesday. We're taping
that's
early.
That's muscle
tonight.
memory right
Let's just
there.
say it is. That's muscle memory right there. We're taping early. I'm rocked. I'm wobbled. I'm dazed, and I'm just fighting on instinct right now, man. We should say we are. I guess we're taping a day early because Cold Coffee. You fly out to
Barcelona in the
Barcelona.
Barcelona.
In the
Say it
morning.
right.
To miss
Say it right.
The 216 festivities. So today was my day of dabbling with that.
Yeah, thank you for pitching in, and which is why Simon is in town. Normally, USA Today likes the two cats that live here local to handle things.
Yeah,
I'm picking up the slack.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. This
Thanks,
is
man.
your first time. I mean, I'm sure in the USA Today properties, they're always talking about the road show. We get it. We get it. So you're finally getting your chance to actually come on board, and you've already been rewarded with one of these lovely hashtag frosty beverages koozies.
And I'm loving it.
And
I'm loving it.
The Audio Boom All-Stars, as they like to call us.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it is a Wednesday night. We're coming out a day early. Thank you for reminding me, Cold Coffee. And it was a great segue right in the middle of remembering the people who lost their lives.
Yeah.
But it was so jarring for me. It makes sense. I mean, like a concert, right? Like I'm 40 years old. I don't go out to concerts that often anymore. But, it's young people out having a good time, enjoying themselves, and just shitty, man. And it's crazy. It was a crazy week because Friday night I did take my son. It was me and my wife, my son. We went to go see Imagine Dragons at T-Mobile Arena, his first concert. And obviously this was a completely different venue, but it's so weird to think, 48 hours later, a couple blocks down the street, another, entertainment venue. It's just so weird what choices and what decisions are made and how things can go. And it just sucks. Like trying to make sense of the whole situation. God, I don't even know how to begin. I mean, these tragedies have happened all over the country, right? I mean, it's not getting any better, but when it's in your backyard. And today I was walking to T-Mobile Arena for the media day that we did, and we'll certainly talk all about UFC 216. And I tweeted about this, but it was such a weird experience, man. Parking in the New York parking garage, coming down that escalator out into Nokia Plaza to get over there to T-Mobile. It wasn't even in my head. In my head, it was like, hey, come meet you guys. Let's get to work. Let's do what we do. I mean, this is fight week routine. This is what we do over and over, right? But for whatever reason, and maybe it was because, there was like nobody around me. It was empty. I mean, there was nobody around me. And I'm walking through there empty, and all of a sudden I look up, and I see the Monte Carlo,
all the windows.
All the windows. I look behind me and I see New York.
All
I see the
windows.
parking garage and I think, holy shit, like the same thing could literally happen right here too. And it was eerie, man. It was eerie to think that, man, because as we start talking about it, guys, I don't know how you fix this shit. I don't know how you prevent it.
I'm gonna knock on wood just right now.
Yeah.
Just because it's out. I understand the thought. The thought makes total sense. It could be a fight night. It could be a concert. It could be a Vegas Golden Knights hockey game, and you've got thousands of people right there in front waiting to get in, just sitting ducks. It could happen there. It's just it's weird. It's so sad that that thought would even cross your mind.
I know, it sucks, man. I will say this though, and again, we're not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but it has to be mentioned. I will say this I've been in Vegas for about 10 years now, and I will say, and I think this probably happens in most communities when tragedy like this strikes. It was cool to see our community come together, man. Silly what I contributed, but my wife always asks me, she's like, listen, when you get lucky and get upgraded on a plane and they give you those amenity kits, take them. And she's like, when you're in a hotel and I don't do it enough, she's like, just take the shampoo and the conditioner, just take it. They're going to replace it. Bring it home. And then I just give them to her, and then she ends up donating them to women's shelters or whatever it may be. And so we had a huge bag of it at home, and there were a lot of people that were stuck, family members that were stuck waiting around, people that were that were locked out of their hotels that couldn't get back. And so she was like, I'm going to go bring it to them. They're saying they need things like that, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, stuff like that. So it was cool. We went to a fire station to go drop this stuff off where they were collecting it right by our house. And the number of cars that were there, just loaded, just dropping off food and water and supplies. And, that morning, everybody's saying, like, we need blood. Please, we need blood. Right. And by the end of the afternoon, they're saying, we're good on blood, man.
We have enough.
Oh, man, it was cool to see the community come together.
I think the beautiful thing about that, the beautiful thing to come out of it is, like, you guys obviously live here. But outsiders, people who don't live here, people around the country, think of Vegas in a very certain type of scope. They don't think about it in a community, in a family type of scope, So I can't even imagine what it's like for you guys. It's the Strip. It's the Strip. It's the hotels. It's the clubs. It's the casinos. And that's Vegas to everybody, I don't live here. I look at Vegas in a deeper light. My dad lives here. So I don't look at Vegas that way. I did before when I was younger. But for you guys to be living here, it's great for you guys to be able to remind everybody, this is a community of families. It's not just party goers.
That's right.
That's just one street on Las Vegas. And that's it. It's just Las Vegas
true,
Boulevard.
Well, it's more than one street.
Well, it's more than one street, but you know what I mean.
There's a few streets.
But that's what everybody's thinking. That's what everybody's thinking.
I agree.
I mean, you hear it a lot of times.
You just don't think of it.
Yeah, you hear it a lot of times. You go places, people are like, "Oh, wait, you guys don't live in hotels?"
Right.
You actually go places. The people's perceptions are definitely a certain way. So yeah, seeing things like this where people
you guys come
seeing
together,
the lines, it's pretty amazing. And yeah, when I'm really bad at waiting in lines. So I tried to go get blood. They said like 6 hours, and I didn't stay. I know some people are much better than me. They actually stayed. Some people stayed like 12 hours long. So everything that I was told was go online and schedule. And the great thing about what's going on now is the fact that they're booked to like the end of October.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Like all the places
So now
that's what they were saying. I think they even said on the
build.
news. Like, I mean, at this point, that's not even going to like the people that are happening right now.
Supply other places.
This is other places, and this is a whole other stuff. Like everybody that's going to have to need the blood from this incident, they've already had surgery, or they're going to maybe have some other surgeries coming up. But we're now stockpiling this. It's unfortunate that it takes something like this to get this much goodwill going towards it. But literally, they're going to be saving lives further on into the future because of this. So hopefully the momentum stays. People keep reaching out to the Red Cross and things like that and doing it. But seeing the outreach, it's unreal. People are going on Twitter saying, like, dude, if you need a ride, hit me up on Twitter. We'll pick you up. Just seeing that from Las Vegas, if people didn't think that there was a community here before, I certainly think that their eyes are open to the fact that it is
the silver lining of this tragic thing to happen. This really shitty thing to happen.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It was not a fun thing, and it's definitely affecting a lot of people. It is a community. It's kind of a small town where everybody knows everybody. I think everybody in this community knows somebody that was there that night, and yeah, it's tough. All right, well, let's just start right there, okay? UFC 216 is this week. That's why we're here. That's what we're here for. First, good decision by the UFC to go ahead and hold the event? I mean, was there any concern from either of you guys that, hey, maybe they should scrap this?
I didn't feel any.
I didn't feel any as well. I mean, if it had happened on a Thursday and 2 days later, or the Friday before, or even maybe the Wednesday before, just a couple days before, I think the UFC maybe would have an obligation to make that call in a different direction. But it was still a week away. I'm okay with the UFC moving on and moving forward with the event. And plus, look, it's not like the UFC is just not doing anything. They're going to donate $1 million to the families, which is a very cool move. I think that gives you a little bit of leeway to say, this is what we're doing to help our community, and we're going to continue on. We're not going to live in fear, and that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with it. I really am okay. I don't think it's insensitive to continue on, with things as planned.
I think that's a great point. I mean, the fact that they donated $1 million shows that, hey, we're not just doing this to be selfish to collect our gate revenue. I mean, we're giving a lot of that to it.
Exactly.
Classy move by Joe Rogan too, right? Donating 100% of his proceeds
to
this Friday.
Show.
I mean,
yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants. I actually put one out today. Like restaurants in town are picking days and doing a lot of the proceeds to it. You're seeing a lot of stuff. So even outside of it, even small places are reaching in. So like the amount of money, like the GoFundMe that Sizzlack started, they've had to increase the money value each day because it keeps going higher. I think when they first initially started, I think he set something like $300,000 or $500,000 as the goal. They got that in like no time flat. So that by the morning it was set to like $1 million. A few hours later it was like $3 million. Now it's set for like 10. I haven't looked at it now. If I wouldn't be surprised if we pulled it up now that it's higher than 10 million. Maybe by the end of the show I'll pull it up. I just got to find the page. But it's amazing how many of the different local businesses are putting money forward. Not even just the UFC did it. Zappos, which has a headquarters here, put like $1 million. I think there's some other. What do we say? MGM put $3 million.
Jeez.
I think in.
That's great.
So it's super impressive what these places are doing because they realize. I mean. The tourists and the locals, I mean, that's their family. I mean, without that, every casino, every place would fail. So they need to do what they need to do to keep them happy and, to make them feel whole again, make them feel like it's all right to come out, and that's the thing about this. My initial thoughts were as long as safety wasn't an issue, and I think they realized that, they're still doing the investigating and whatever, but there's not an immediate danger that they needed to make sure that first and foremost wasn't an issue. And then at that point, the best way to heal and to move forward is to not let this shut our life down. That's the same that, they've been pumping down our throats, when it comes to terrorists. We can't let, fear win. So what better than to do something that a lot of us love and dearly, that means a lot to us.
What could bring Las Vegas, help with the healing better than a fight week?
A big fight.
Big fight week.
No,
right? This is the fight capital.
Well, it's funny because, what we do for a living, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not valuable, right? Because it is. But, I mean, we cover sports. And when things like this happen, sometimes I cower back in the corner and I go, like,
kind of
oh, God,
up a little bit.
I'm the dude that just covers cage fighting. Yeah. I mean, that's what I do for a living. But as you said, man, I think you guys both said it right. Like, moving forward, I know Monday morning, my son, he's 5 years old. He still doesn't know what happened. He was asleep when it happened. We made sure to keep the news off and all that because I don't know how you explain that to a 5-year-old. And so he still doesn't know what happened. But I did look at my wife on Monday morning and say, hey, do we send our kid to school or not? Like, I know this was an isolated incident. I can't imagine that something else is going to happen. But
you never know if it's something coordinated over the course
exactly. So you go, are we okay? And we kind of just both came to the conclusion, like, dude, life goes on. You can't. Yeah. I mean, first of all, like, if it's going to happen, there ain't nothing you can do about it. So let's just go for it. But, then it came time to turn to, all right, now we have to cover a UFC this week. Like, does it even matter? Do people care? And I did think, hey, a little bit of the healing, a little bit of the recovery process, like, let's cover a fight, man. Maybe there's some people that just need a couple hours away, man. Need to pull their brains off what's going on, and they want to read, about a fight or whatever. Yeah. So I felt like, maybe we provide at least a little. Maybe we're not incident. Maybe we provide a little bit of value to the community.
It's a small thing, even if it's a small thing, a small way of healing, of helping to heal. yeah, there's a lot of. I think there's value to that.
Yeah.
You know?
I know it. I certainly needed. I know that even not directly being there, like this has been such a draining thing on just energy levels of like my soul and just like everything, like watching everything. It's been on local news. I mean, like the local channels have pretty much
nonstop.
gave up on programming of any other show. Like, so if you wanted to watch your whatever, I'm so bad. I don't even know what shows are really on.
What, during the day?
Like during the day, but even into the evening, like after it happened for like 2 days straight, it was nonstop. All you heard was this. And it was just, and it was just so hard to keep watching, but you also felt like you had to because you wanted to know more about it. So even today, I went down to the Mandalay Bay to help some of the radio guys, and walking through the Mandalay Bay. Well, granted, today was kind of a little bit surreal because, of course, the president came into town today. So as I'm driving into town, at every bridge, there's a metro car there watching all the bridges so that no shooters or whatever take up place on the bridges. So, seeing that, just, part of my brain at first initially was thinking like, wow, they're still planning on something that's going on with like the shooter or something, like my brain's still wrapping around it, and I was like, man, the security still really ramped up. And then as I got to the Mandalay, I was like, oh, that's right, president's here, that's why they're there. But even just walking into the Mandalay Bay was just sort of
what was
surreal.
like?
Just like people weren't there. It was like, I think I saw maybe a total of like 20 people. I mean, granted, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning or so, which is early, but even at that time, normally you find hundreds of people still on the gambling floor, and people going to Starbucks and all that. There wasn't a line at Starbucks. That should tell you something there, I mean, like, it was just, I went, and after I helped with the radio, and I got a coffee, and I was just like, I just wanted to walk around the floor. I just felt weird, and so I tried to find something to do, so I wanted to upgrade my little player's card. So I just walked over to the player's card thing, and I just made up, I just started having a conversation with the girl, like, I know this has got to be very trying for you guys. I know it's been very emotional for your staff or whatever. I was like, but looking around the floor, like, this is just weird to me, like, seeing it so empty. And I was like, it's not normally like this, right? Tell me I'm not crazy. She's like, no, normally by now there would be so many more people. Like, it just, like, we say that Vegas doesn't shut down. Vegas really doesn't shut down. But, like,
you didn't see any walks of shame going on.
Nah,
you didn't see
like,
nothing. No, I got it.
It was crazy, man.
Normally
just
you would see that at that time.
It was.
So today, before we went to the media day today, right? The three of us were standing outside. We were number 1, 2, and 3 in line because that's how MMAjunkie does, right?
We roll.
But we were sitting there talking, and I think we all had the same idea.
One?
Well, you were number 1. I was number 2.
And
Simon was number 3. But we were 1, 2, and 3. We were win, place, and show. That's all that matters.
I just want y'all to know that he said I'm number 1. I'm number 1.
All right, so, we were standing out there, and I think we all had the same idea, right? That, like, listen, we need to get reaction. I mean, it would be silly of us as reporters to not go in there and get reaction. But, and I told you this, Simon, I mean, like, I always feel a little bit weird, too. Like, I mean, what does it matter what somebody's political views is, or what do they think? I mean, like, how many different – there's 500 people on the roster. Like, how many different people can we ask about what their opinion on this is, what their opinion on that is, what their opinion on this is? But I guess it does make sense. It's a little different because we're not just calling a random fighter.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about fighters that are literally in Las Vegas for
down
an event.
Down the street.
Yeah, and how many people did we talk to that were literally already in town? Because most of them, you don't have to come in until Tuesday. That's the scheduled arrival time. But a lot of them were already in town. Some people making use of the UFC Performance Institute. Of course, Kevin Lee and Evan Dunham are both local already. So we decided, hey, listen, it's not in poor taste for us to just get people's reaction and to find out. And we talked to all of them, and you ended up writing a piece on it. And we did a little video as well. Cold Coffee put the video together. Yeah. I don't know. Talk to me about, I guess, how you felt about it, because I will say, I know in this day and age of MMA, probably all of them, their managers or somebody were like, get ready because you're probably going to hear this question, right? So make sure that you've got an answer in mind. This is not the dark ages. This is the day where they know there's going to be microphones and cameras in front of them. But overall, man, I felt like the responses from people today were very kind of heartfelt and dead on and just smart. You know what I mean? I thought they were good. They were good responses, and it does make me wonder. I mean, we're sitting here talking about what it takes for us to want to go cover, do an interview. I gotta think that, man, at least to some degree, it has to be creeping into all their heads, especially the ones, as you know, Simon, that are parents. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, when you have a child, it changes your perspective on everything. And I got to think that, man, it's got to be creeping in their heads a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the guys who were here on Sunday night, which we heard from, of the 10 fighters that were available to us today, we talked to 8 of them. We know Kevin Lee lives here, although he wasn't here that night. We know Evan Dunham lives here. Beneil Dariush already was here.
Right.
Tony Ferguson already was here.
Yep.
And, in fact, his wife, I believe, was at a church not far from the location where the shooting happened.
Jeez.
So he had to get to her. Beneil's talking about what the vibe was like on the Strip as word. I almost felt like as we listened to Beneil talk, it almost felt like a wave coming down from the south end of the Strip where Mandalay Bay is. Like word just starts to travel.
Yep.
And, it's one of those things. We knew Fabricio
said he was playing some roulette.
He was playing some roulette,
Yep.
And then he hears about it.
And he got word, and they were like, get in your room.
He got a phone call from a friend who said, hey, Fabricio, so many people have died. This shooting happened or whatever.
Hide yourself.
Get to your room. And Fabricio said he went to his room, watched the news. These guys, they didn't really understand the gravity until they kind of basically took cover. Like, okay, I'm going to go back to my room. That's what everyone's saying I should do. And then you see it, and you're like, wow. And I think it hit these guys so hard once they realized what had just happened or what was still happening. Because, we don't know when they got back. Like, I can only imagine how the news, the information just traveled. Yeah. Basically like a wave from the south end to if you weren't that close,
Speaking of that, I think there's definitely a blessing and a curse when it comes to the digital age and how we're able to share information. I think, it's a blessing in the sense that as soon as stuff started happening, it was Twitter, it was everywhere. People's doing, this is going on. And I was like, holy shit, I need to try to find out what's going on. But the curse of it is all the bad news that came out.
Misinformation.
Oh, there's a shooter in the Tropicana.
I believe it was. I think Beneil is the one who brought up. We didn't know. They said it was maybe
there were
other
so
hotels, and I can only imagine the panic that puts you in.
Yeah, people ran into a place thinking that it was safe, but then immediately get inside and people running back out. No, there's an active shooter inside there, and I mean, I just had to make the evening so much more crazier, just so much more manic because I can only imagine the sheer fear of feeling that there was nowhere safe to go because at that point so much bullshit info was coming out via these normal ways. I mean, let's be honest, like Twitter, it does a pretty good job of breaking news and all that stuff, but you also get a lot of bullshit stuff breaking quick. And people just immediately take it as gospel right off the get-go. And while it was great that the speed of people able to do this and luckily some of the smartphone video and all this other stuff was able to kind of, I guess, put us in the shoes of people that were dealing with this stuff. But yeah, all that crazy stuff that just made it even worse. And I'm kind of torn both ways of, I guess would have been better if we didn't have that. People would have just got out of that venue and would have felt a little bit safer instead of it got prolonged so much more because of everybody. So it's not like I don't want it to exist because, you need to have that stuff. But it's like
instant information is both a blessing and a curse.
It is a blessing and a curse, I mean,
really is. You're right.
It's tough, but I don't know. I wanted to talk about that because I thought about it earlier, and I'm just like,
it's so true.
We're in this day and age where everything we're doing has to be on social media. It has to be here so people could share it and people do all this other stuff. But in the same sense, it's just as easy to take fear and take this misinformation and people maybe with their own evil agenda, not like evil like mastermind, but just the shitty people putting out stuff that can get easily shared and then just made the night that much worse for honest people out there that were already dealing with a traumatic thing.
Yep.
You got some jerk out there saying, oh, hey, by the way, I hear there's a shooter in X location. Then somebody else picks that up, and then it gets shared out without anybody vetting the information, and it just, unreal that, I don't know. That just, it's so frustrating me. I mean, it is. It's such a blessing, it's such a curse, and it's such a point of what our business needs to grow and do everything. So it's not like we can just shun social media for the bad sides. I guess it's just one of those things that we have to accept that with the good that this can bring, being able to share everything has that ultimate downside that could be used for the wrong stuff. And we saw a lot of that, whether it was meant to be or just panic and people, put
panic
things out
more than anything.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough. I mean, listen, it's again, we're here to talk about MMA. We're here to talk about the sport, but we always said, I mean, this show was always going to be about just us living our lives, doing what we do, which centers around MMA. But we're going to tell you what we see and what we feel and what we do. And dude, this week, man, it's been impossible to look past, man. So we'll see. The sad thing is, again, I don't even know what changes will be made or could be made to fix this in Vegas. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and I don't know, man. Hope for the best. All right, let's talk about UFC 216.
Fights.
Let's get into fights, man. Let's talk about it. Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee.
Fist punching.
The main event here, man. I got to say, now there's some great fights. There's some great fights coming up, right? I mean, Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar just got announced. That's going to be sick. Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw is a month away. That's going to be sick. I mean,
JoJo and Rose.
That's a great fight.
That's a great fight.
And then Ngannou and Overeem, who's not looking forward to that one. I mean, there's so many good fights coming up.
That's boring.
But, dude.
That's going to be just a lay and pray.
This end of the year sucks, guys.
Oh, yeah, it's looking strong. But Tony Ferguson versus Kevin Lee, I got a feeling, we'll just say it right now. We never talk hard data, so to speak, but just looking at the overall trend of traffic right now, doesn't feel like we're captivating the general public's interest right now. I'm assuming that this is not going to be a huge selling pay-per-view. I'm imagining the gate won't be massive. But I got to say, man, am I out of line here? Like, the fight itself, I am loving this fight.
I do not think you're out of line. I am loving this fight as well. Mostly because of Tony and what Tony brings to the table with his crazy from every angle style of fighting. But also the flip side of that is I think Kevin Lee is ready to accept that. Mm-hmm. And I think he's ready to go to war if necessary. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to play it safe. I think he has something to prove big time. The way these guys have been trading barbs, this fight, like I think this could be this. It has fight of the year potential.
I agree.
If it goes the way I think it could, it has fight of the year potential. Kevin Lee said today he expects to go 5 rounds. He's not even expecting to finish them, so he's ready for a 5-round war.
I love this fight, and I think, I mean, the immediate connection to the casual fan, I guess, if you want to say why this matters, is like, hey, the winner could fight Conor McGregor.
Right.
But to me, like, that's not even a sliver of why I'm excited about the fight.
No.
I mean, I think Tony Ferguson has been so exciting, as you said, man, the fan-friendly style. And I've said it personally, man, I love the guy as far as, his personality and his persona and all those things. I mean, I know that's not why you necessarily watch the sport, but it makes it interesting, right? I mean, this guy that when he came off The Ultimate Fighter again, I wasn't so sure about him. I'm like, who's this dude wearing sunglasses? And he doesn't look at you when he interviews. He looks straight at the camera so that the viewers at home know. I mean, it's like it's all there. Like it's. And I was like, it's weird, like fresh off The Ultimate Fighter. But now I've come to love it, man. I love the way he speaks. I love the way he handles himself. It's great. But more than that, his fighting style. I love that he takes chances. Right. And I think the thing is he's really gotten good at – because I used to think he was really bad because, he'll do those crazy, like, Imanari rolls into a takedown. But he would be so willing to go to bottom position because he felt comfortable on his back. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I think he's gotten a lot better at that. So he's incredibly exciting. Brings, striking the game is there as well. Meanwhile, Kevin Lee, same thing. Kevin Lee, I think, is a phenomenal athlete. A young kid, up and coming, embracing the salesmanship side of the game,
Definitely.
The promotional side of the game, but also, has fun. I remember, man, his open workout in Oklahoma City, where he was getting ready for Michael Chiesa. He was doing some jiu-jitsu stuff and everything, and he was telling people like, look, this is the new school. This is how I do things. This is a whole new era, and I do feel like he is that new generation. So I do love this fight. Who should we start with, Cole Kopp? Should we start with who should we talk about first? Should we talk about Kevin Lee first? Because it was.
Or should we not?
Let's
just do quick.
Quick
answers.
Let's talk about. Let's talk about. So first of all, it's become a curse of mine that basically when we go to a media day, we say, you know what, let's set up in front of one person. That way the focus is already set, the tripod's already there. Boom, we can get that first interview done.
Today?
Pretty much every time we do it, wherever I set up, doesn't matter. Whoever I set up in front of is going to be the last person to show up.
Sure enough.
Now,
and they
in fairness, he was 9 out of 10.
Second to last?
He was 9 out of 10.
Yes.
Kalindra Fahia was the last one.
last
9
one.
out of 10. So Kevin Lee gets there last. But I'm like, hey, no big deal. Hey, listen, Kevin Lee, fellow Vegas guy. Man, we were the only American media to be there in Brazil. This fight with Francisco Trinaldo, that great moment where he flipped off the crowd, which I thought was amazing. You know, it was fun. You know, he's done MMAjunkie radio a ton, man. He's damn near a part-time co-host, right?
Practically, yeah.
I mean, I'm like, dude, you know what? All I got to do, I ain't even got to say nothing. I just got to be like, yo, so Kevin Lee.
Put the mic.
Put the mic right in front of him. He's going to go off, right?
So you switched roles today.
And tell us what happened today,
That
John.
is not exactly what happened. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you what happened. Let's just, because I do need to get another frosty beverage, and I'm going to have to make this frosty beverage run quick. Because we're going to play the entire Kevin Lee interview today from Media Day, which will barely give me enough time to jump up there and come back and get a frosty beverage. Listen to Kevin Lee. Kevin, also we got a big fight to talk about, but first, as a Las Vegas resident, Las Vegas homeowner, I got to ask you, what's this week been like for you? I mean, the biggest moment of your professional career, and then having this issue in our community to deal with as well.
Yeah, it's rough, you know. It ain't really much for me to say.
Fair enough. You've been wanting the spotlight, it seems like, since you came to the UFC. It's on you now. What does the experience feel like? Is it what you expected?
It's, you know.
You were main event last time out, but this is like a whole different level. Las Vegas, pay-per-view, interim belt on the line. Is it affecting your preparation? Is it affecting your mindset? Does it feel any different than the other fights that you've had?
Not really, you know. About the same.
Let's talk about Tony Ferguson. He's a guy that's been around for a long time. He's got credentials. I know you feel like you're the better fighter, but put all the talk aside, all the back and forth. What do you see when you just break him down as a fighter?
If he don't know, he gonna know. I'll tell you that.
I got to wonder, I mean, I know he's your opponent, but is any part of you, I would think that you might even be a little bit of a fan of his fighting style. Maybe not the guy, but I mean, he's aggressive, he's fun, he's creative. I mean, watching him as you were making your rise, was he a guy that you at least were entertained by watching him fight?
Yeah, he does a lot of good shit, you know, but it's gonna be good.
I know you've been working towards this moment. It means a lot, but how much do you think about what's next? I mean, this is an interim belt. You know, the real belt's still out there. Conor McGregor's still out there. Do you let yourself think about the next step along the way as you get ready for this fight?
I do know. I know.
Do we get a little hint as to what's in the future?
A lot of big things.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of build-up. I think we're all excited for this. Put it into words. As you play this thing out in your head, what are we going to see on Saturday night?
You gonna know.
Thanks, Kev. All right, so that was the Motown phenom himself, Kevin Lee. Let's just dive into this. Okay. You guys were standing right there. You saw this all unfold. Things did not turn out exactly like I had hoped.
Did you like berate him on his outfit or something when he came in?
He was
Did you give him a stink eye?
Definition of Kurt.
Yeah, exactly, right? So here's the thing is, I did, and I think you may be able to hear a little bit in the audio, I think he had a nice chip in his mouth to start with. So my immediate reaction was it was just he was in the middle of a hard cut, right? Like it was bad. It was not a good spot for him, and he's admitted he cuts down quite a bit, man. He's a big dude.
He does.
So that was my initial reaction. But I swear to God, as soon as we walked off, like I started hearing him open up more, and I'm saying this because first of all, like it was funny because a lot of people saw the interview and they're like, "Is he pissed at you?" And I'm like, I don't know. I look forward to speaking to him to find out if he is. I don't care because that's not like I'm not trying to be part of the story or whatever. But it was just weird. And so I'm not asking so much because I care. Do we have some beef or whatever? No. I mean, I like Kevin. I'm pretty sure Kevin likes me. But whatever. That doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is,
I used to think so.
Exactly. What I'm trying to say is, was my initial reaction right that he was like shitty because he's having a terrible weight cut? Or not? I don't know. What did you guys get? It was just weird.
It could be.
It was just weird. And here's the thing. My thing is, I feel like it's worth talking about, but I also am not trying to say like, let's talk about my relationship with Kevin Lee. Like, that's not what matters here.
Yeah.
If there's nothing that you can think of that you've said, and I certainly know there's nothing that you've written, in a long time or whenever, like I cannot see why he would have had that. Why he would have reacted
it might have been
like that.
that piece. I often ghostwrite stuff, and my alias is one John Morgan.
But mine's without an H.
Yeah,
so
it's
totally
Jon.
different. It's totally different.
Like Anik, because Anik's my boy.
I thought it was so odd though, and I took it at first because I was standing next to you,
right,
and I was recording with my phone just to have audio while you were, holding the microphone, and Kenny was obviously shooting the video. So
I actually was behind the camera laughing at what was happening.
I bet you were.
Actually, I was laughing. I was like,
it was
what
odd.
the hell?
I was like, I was thinking to myself within that first 30 seconds, like, what's going on here? Why? Kevin,
this is not normal.
He's never short of words. What's going on here?
Exactly. And the thing is, I try, and I was cool with that, but I tried to keep following up to just give him more opportunities. Because Tyron Woodley, remember Tyron Woodley did that to us in Atlanta, where he was like, I'm the greatest.
He also eventually
opened
opened up.
Yeah, I'm the greatest welterweight in the world. I'm the greatest, and that was like literally all he said. I'm the greatest welterweight in the world. I'm the greatest welterweight. He's trying to do the Marshawn Lynch thing or whatever. But I kept pressing, and he Tyron. And Tyron likes to mess with people, and he's messed with me before. But he at least had like a little smirk on his face, a little smile. It was like he was having a little fun. Hell, Derek Lewis did that to us, and I get it, man. Yeah, people like to have.
But he
fun.
never broke it as a joke or anything.
Right. Kevin Lee just stayed into it. So
it's possible that it was just a case of you were first. Like
Sure.
I can imagine maybe.
I wonder if Morocco's written anything lately that we've forgotten about.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I have to throw Steven under the
Steven
bus.
has a good way of getting under people's skin.
He kind of does sometimes. But what I was thinking afterwards, too, was, all right, maybe Kevin has talked so much.
Right. He's done.
For the last month or whatever, since the fight was announced, 6 weeks. He's talked so much that maybe surprisingly, he doesn't have too much more to say. And he comes into this media day. He knows he's got to sit in front of a microphone for an hour. And he comes in with the plan in his head. I'm just going to be short. And maybe he thinks, I'm going to be short with everybody. And
then he got as uncomfortable as I did. And
they're going to leave me alone. They're going to leave me alone. And then, yes, exactly. Like, oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is possible.
I can't do this for an hour.
I can't do this for an hour. I can't be this short with everybody for an hour. And we just so happen to be first. We just so happen to be the wrong people in the wrong spot.
Did he drive himself there?
He did drive himself.
So maybe he ran into some bullshit-ass
and that could have
traffic.
happened. You never know. You never know.
Traffic.
That could have been something as well.
I just thought about that.
You
never know. Maybe
he's going
he ran
through the
into
weight
some
cut.
traffic.
We know he cuts a lot of weight, so generally maybe cranky at the moment.
Yeah.
You had a road rage right there. He carried road rage.
This is all possible.
It was weird.
These are all possible.
I just always, again, at the end of the day, the X's and O's are what they are when they get in the cage. But that's part of fight week, right? It's like looking into people's psyche, seeing what's going on with their heads. See, you know what I mean? So it was just interesting. I've never had that type of exchange with Kevin Lee, and I kind of wondered what was going on.
But also, too, I think if there was maybe some beef, I can see where maybe he was like, I don't want to openly say it, but like you said, you've never done anything. We don't think Morocco's written anything. But he's also the kind of guy that I wouldn't be surprised that he would call us out if there was something. If you wrote something that he was honestly probably pissed off about, I bet he would bring it up.
I agree.
So the fact that he didn't, I think it probably was more.
That's my rule. Never write anything, never say anything, never tweet anything that you wouldn't be willing to say to a fighter's face, because you know what?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the life that we live. I mean, I know some people don't have to go on the road. Me and you, Cold Coffee, we have to go on the road a lot. We see these people face to face, and I have no problem with that. And if they want to call me out, I have no problem with that either. I think that's the dialogue that should happen.
Yeah, and look, I was just with him on Monday at the media luncheon in L.A., and
maybe that's what did. He saw Simon.
He saw me again.
It wasn't
Simon,
you.
Well, Simon,
it was Simon.
I should say, let's that media lunch. I mean, obviously the headlines that stole everything, of course, were the Verdum and Ferguson clash or whatever. But the conversation you and I had, that was from the week. You're right. That wasn't the same luncheon, but I should say I wanted to talk to you because you had a really good impression, I think, of Kevin Lee. You and I were talking before Media Day happened. Kevin Lee didn't necessarily live up to the expectations that we had, but you came away with kind of a respect for Kevin Lee at the media luncheon that you went to.
Yeah, I did. There was the question that was posed to Kevin Lee, and I should say it was posed to Demetrius Johnson as well. This media lunch on Monday was Kevin Lee and Demetrius Johnson, and it was posed just to give these guys an opportunity to speak on what's been going on. This is not fight related, but what's been going on in terms of with black athletes, specifically in the NFL and NBA, who are speaking out against President Trump. And it was a question that was posed to both those guys, and Kevin Lee gave a very thoughtful answer. A very thoughtful answer. He praised LeBron James. He talked about how important it is for him to win the championship because he wants his platform, he wants his voice to be bigger. So, I did come away with, the thing about Kevin Lee that I've noticed, and I should also disclose, I did host MMA Junkie Radio with him last month.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you guys were together.
He came into the studio.
So he's just sick of seeing your face.
Maybe it's my fault.
It was probably Simon.
But maybe it was me, guys. I don't know. So the thing about it is, I feel like in the last month or so, roughly, I've sort of seen that Kevin sort of toes that line of understanding what it means to, like you mentioned earlier, to do the marketing and self-promotion type thing. But you know what? He's got a real thoughtful mind that goes with that, where he'll get serious about things, and that really I did come away with a little bit more respect for him after that luncheon on Monday, because he gave a very thoughtful answer on something that had nothing to do with fighting. And he used that opportunity just to speak about something that was near and dear to him.
It's hard, man. I mean,
so that's why it was so weird that he acted like this today.
But you know what, man? I think that's real well said. I mean, out of again, as much as we've seen of Kevin here, and I know, for instance, Dave Schaller, former head of PR that has moved on to the Philadelphia 76ers, he was huge on Kevin Lee, Mike, from the very beginning. He's like, this guy's going to be somebody, And so we definitely always paid attention to his career. And you're right, man. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. He is very, very thoughtful, man. He really is. But I think I don't want to say feels a pressure to promote, but when those dollar signs are out there, I mean, when you see Conor McGregor, cashing $100 million checks, of course you realize, I need to do something. But there's that divergence in the path, right? Like, which way am I going? I mean, God, I even feel like Conor has done that to a degree where he's just like quit trying to, make an impact and just started to be like, now I'm a product.
You can see the little flashes from Conor at times when he does that.
Because he's so smart. Conor's such a smart dude, man. And, yeah, man, I don't know.
I think Kevin is like that as well, just in the sense of, I don't think he's fake when he says when he talks trash.
No, he's not. He's not.
I think he genuinely thinks he's going to kick the shit out of Tony, I think he genuinely believes that. I don't think he's faking it at all. But some people will take it that way. And so then I also think he'll surprise you with, a real thoughtful answer on a topic that you wouldn't necessarily think he would be that way about it. So
it's intriguing.
He is an intriguing personality. He really is.
I think he's got great things. The guy's 25 years old, man. He's got great things ahead of him. I do think this is going to be a rough night for him. Tony Ferguson, a beast, an absolute beast, man. Tony Ferguson, we talked about, man, is his entertainment factor, his wow factor, the fact that he's so good and aggressive. I'm telling you right now, the performance that he had against Rafael dos Anjos in Mexico City, where everybody else wilts and fades. Thank you, sir. I'm still.
Ciudad.
It was laying.
Well, thank you there, Yair. I appreciate that. I didn't even know Yair was here, man.
He just came and went. Dude is like super quick.
Adios, Pantera. All right. Now, listen, that performance was amazing, man. I mean, not only was it great because it was against Rafael dos Anjos, but the fact that you can keep that pace, that aggression, that tempo. You know, I mean, just taking it to somebody that has accomplished things that you haven't. I mean, that guy. We always talk about like confidence, and like you can tell, man, when you stand face to face with somebody, you listen to them, you can tell the people that really believe in themselves versus the people that are like trying to hype themselves up so to make themselves believe they are who they are. And Tony Ferguson, man, he believes everything. Man, I think this guy right now, I think he's just a little bit. I think Kevin Lee may be the future. I think Tony Ferguson may be the right now, man. I really do feel like he's a special cat. And I guess I should preface that by saying we'll preview a little bit. Simon, you went the other way with your pick, right? But lay it out. What did you think about Tony Ferguson today? You were at the media lunch. You were at the setup for the future heavyweight fight with Fabricio Verdum.
I should also mention that. So when we make our picks, you know, we send them out. We send them to Matt, and I did initially pick Tony.
Okay.
I flip-flopped my pick before they went official, before they go official later this week, to Kevin Lee. Everything about Tony Ferguson right now, everything you're saying about him as a fighter, as a mixed martial artist, as a very dangerous fighter right now, is all true. The only thing for me, and I don't think he's fake. I think he believes everything that comes out of his mouth. I'm right there with you. The only thing for me with Tony right now is I almost think he takes himself a little too seriously. And for me, I think when you come into a fight that he badly wants to win this fight. I mean, he badly wants to win this fight. Badly. You know, he wants to fight Khabib. He wants to fight Conor. And it's not going to happen unless he wins this fight. I almost feel like he takes himself a little too seriously, and I feel a little bit like he might come into this fight a little too hyped, a little too tightly wound. There's something to be said to be able to have just some chill in you, and Tony he's exuded no chill whatsoever,
right?
None whatsoever. So it's not really a tactical reason why I'm picking Kevin to beat Tony. Because I think you hit on a lot of points that make sense why he's going to win this fight. I just almost feel like there's an X factor. There's an intangible factor here at play in this fight with mentality and attitudes coming in. I don't know. Am I crazy? That's just
did that change for you after seeing him in person? You know, or
because he literally has never had any chill. Like, dude, in Mexico, I remember him talking about, like, man, I've been running the street with the people in Mexico City and feeling the vibe of these Cholo warriors, and I'm like,
I think it was,
fuck? Yeah. but it was awesome. That's him, man.
Yeah,
that's him.
I
think
sunglasses.
And I will say this though, how great is his gimmick that he's had for the last two face-offs with the little.
Woo!
He
gets Dana out every time. Yeah,
it's great. It's been great.
I guess I think because we've reached the critical moment, it's more so why it's like, okay, this is the critical moment. Like, this is the win that he has to have to be able to have a shot at fighting Conor, to be able to fight Khabib, which we know he's wanted to do for, Jesus Christ, how many times has that been canceled? 3 times?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You know, so it's like, this is the moment. I think he can just ease up maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's.
I mean, it's tough too. Like
how can you sustain that? He's won 9 fights in a row. I know it's worked.
You gotta slip up at some point.
At some point, that's there's a little bit of probability involved.
It's like when you flip a coin, right? It's 50-50 every time, but at some point you say
there's a little bit of
a
little bit of probability involved in my picking Kevin over.
I think it's
over
tough
Tony.
too, like, because I think when you watch, especially on something like that where it feels like, you know, the reason I asked, like, if seeing him in person maybe was the camel that broke the straw's back or straws broke the whatever.
You feeling energy. You feeling energy about
camel
somebody.
that broke the straw's back.
The camel can easily break a straw's
back.
back.
Think about that. It only took one camel to break that straw's back, dude. So, I mean, that's...
Like I told you, I'm a wordsmith, y'all. Just
squash.
But
you be smithing words all day.
How many frosty beverages you got going?
I had a couple. But I mean, also too, we're in such a bubble too. Like, we process a lot of video, we process a lot of interviews. So I think we at times maybe we see so much stuff that I think sometimes in our brains I have to make myself disconnect, because I'll watch a video so much I start thinking that I'm seeing too much into maybe what's happening in a person's mentality. Like, especially like Tony, you watch one speech and then you start comparing it. Well, when he said this time, he really looked confident. And then I'll see him the next time and he look, oh, I didn't quite believe as much. And then when you see him in person, you're like, then you start gathering and you start really focusing on little things that I think sometimes if somebody is off to the outside and didn't maybe pay attention, they would stick to maybe to the facts and the other stuff. But unfortunately there is definitely the mental side of the game. But I wonder if too, like, sometimes watching it, and his interviews are not short by any means. So by the time it starts,
he is long-winded.
You think one thing starting at the start of the video, and by the end of the video, a lot of times you find yourself almost, you're like, did that really need to be a 30-minute interview? And then you almost kind of like downplaying what he says because by the end of it, you have some sort of weird feeling. So sometimes I have to tell myself, like, don't think too much about how your initial feelings are. Like, if you took it in bits and pieces, you probably wouldn't feel as so strongly. But I think you get mental fatigue sometimes with Tony because what he says is so long-winded that by the time he gets done, you're like, I don't even want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it.
It's so overbearing sometimes.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's tough to ignore. I feel like sometimes I have to ignore that because I know what he's trying to say. Because by the time he left the Ultimate Fighter to now, he's fully embraced that I need to sell it. He realized that selling does great things, and he's trying to do the selling the part. And I think a lot of times in his brain, he gets on a certain avenue about how he wants to go, but then something else goes like, oh, don't forget, you also thought about how we need to talk about this. And then he worked really, really long way about it, gets to that other point as well. And he's like me. He says a point, and it takes 3 times as long. And by the time I'm done, you're both looking at me like, God, are you fucking done already?
Well,
like the looks I'm getting right now.
Listen, I'm just saying, I can't think of any better way to set up the audio of our interview with Tony Ferguson than you motherfuckers saying how long-winded he is and like.
So please don't walk away from the headset.
Oh, dude, trust me, it's super long.
There
There
are lots of good gems in it. You gotta stick with it.
You know what?
You gotta stick with it.
You guys don't recognize the genius yet. You don't recognize the genius yet.
Yeah.
Here's Zelka Kui.
Well, Tony, this has been a bit of a weird week for you. Are you hoping a win gets you a fight with Fabricio Verdum, or how does that work?
Oh, man, I'm just worried about the fight that's at hand. Honestly, with the beef with Verdum, I'm over it. I mean, there's other shit to worry about besides that. I'm willing to squash it. I know he is, too. I'm a big fan of his, man. I mean, that's really, ultimately, when I first came into the UFC before The Ultimate Fighter, I saw him at the airport. And I went up to him. I was like, you're Fabricio, right? Like a fucking fanboy. It was fucking crazy. And I was like, I would love to come and train with you. The dude was so open and willing to fucking let me go to his camp, gave me his number, and did all of that. So for all the things that had happened that day, it's kind of crazy. He caught me on a bad day, which was a bad one because I did 2 trips to Big Bear down to OC to take care of my camp. Nobody offered to help me with all of my equipment except for my teammates. I didn't have a truck. I had my work truck, which is a car. So I had 14 mats stacked high one time. I had all the bags in there. I had my dogs. I mean, I had everything you could think of that you saw inside my camp. I had it packed in my car. I drive down the hill. I get there about like 3 o'clock. My wife's like, are you okay? I can't believe you did this. I unloaded the car by myself. And boom, went right back up the hill. Went right back up the hill, grabbed the rest of my shit. It took me about 10 some odd hours to get done with all the stuff. So of course, I'm a mountain man. Just got back. I'm not gonna deal with anybody's bullshit. I'm not bougie. I don't give 2 fucks. I'm down to square up with anybody. Everybody's the same size on the ground as they are. I told everybody. I'm not afraid. I'm a fucking ultimate fighter and a champion.
Nice. Well, obviously you got this title fight on the line. I want to ask you, what's the last year or so been like for you? Because, I mean, you coming off the amazing win over RDA, you got all this opportunity in front of you, and then because of Khabib, because of everything to play, I mean, you're forced to wait and wait and wait. What's it been like for you this whole time?
Humbling. It's been awesome. I couldn't have asked anything better. I spent so much more time with my kid. Got to know my family a lot better. I mean, they got to see me better, to grow as a person and an athlete. I mean, really tested my faith, family, my friends, but everybody stayed true. I mean, I held true to myself. I said, I'm going to get to 200 some odd pounds. I'm going to tell Khabib and show him that it is possible. And I did it twice. I did it 2 times within the time slot. And I thought it was funny. People just need to get their shit together, man. You need to make weight. We're a professional. You're making the sport look bad. But like I said, I don't really care. He's a brother in arms, and this is one love. We're here for one reason. There's much more important things to worry about besides that. We all bleed this color.
As a fighter, how did you stay sharp? I mean, you're at the very highest level of the sport right now in your division. So how do you make sure that during that time off, you're still staying sharp as a fighter as well?
Always staying sharp. I mean, the things that happen, you just try to stay focused in and hone in. Think small. You know, you always think big all the time, but we're throwing strikes. We're throwing change-ups. We're not throwing curveballs. We're not going outside our boundaries. The things that happen during the week, it's hard, man. It's hard. My family was, like, seriously, like, right there. Other families were there. There's no bullshit around it. I mean, the stories that we were hearing, the people the lives that were lost, and then you just see the numbers. I mean, when we finally got back to the hotel after the blockades, you see the numbers just start to skyrocket. I'm surprised that they're having the fight. I really am. You know, I'm not saying the show must go on. No, fuck that. I'm trying to be professional. If the company's going to do it, I signed up for the program. I'm going to have to do the best that I can to focus in, hone it in there, and start throwing strikes.
Has it been tough for you? I mean, obviously, I have a son as well. I live here. As a family man, I know it's been kind of tough for us to even focus to get ready, to come out and do interviews and stuff. And we're not getting in a cage on Saturday night, man. Has it been tough for you to I guess, put those tragedies aside and get ready to take care of business?
You're not going to ever put them aside. You're not. You said it yourself. You're local here. I'm not a local. Kevin's a local. I'm sure that it's probably going through his head too. It's not just me, it's everybody that's affected with this, man. It's not, I mean, the media, they were portraying, oh, it's the biggest thing, and the celebrities, oh, it's the biggest thing. It's not the biggest fucking thing, man. That's some bullshit. Be fucking real, dude. This is fucked. You know, I don't care if you're mentally or a fucking terrorist. It doesn't matter what color you are. That's some fucking terror right there. That's some bullshit. You know, the fact that it happened, I mean, it just fucking sucks. But to see the people band together, to come together, straight up, I mean, literally, I get chills. I mean, seriously, I get chills again of seeing it. I mean, that night, we were driving down the road, and I was open up the window, and I would see people just kind of like scared. I'm like, hey, bro, I hope you're good, man. Stay safe. And like these guys would be like, hey, thanks, dude. And they said, love you. I'm like, fuck, bro, that's fucking awesome. Because that guy was going to go tell 3 people. And for me, somebody told me that. And so for us to be as fighters and to represent the sport and to be able to try to inspire and to motivate this town to try to not try to come back, because they are coming together, but to add to that, that's beautiful. So I'm just trying to do my best as a professional and a representative for the UFC.
That's awesome. Well, you do have Kevin Lee on Saturday night. Hasn't accomplished what you've accomplished in the sport, no doubt about it, but he is talented. I mean, when you break him down, you put the talking aside and the bravado aside and all that. I mean, what do you see in him as a fighter?
I see him as a young and up-and-coming fighter. I see him when I was a captain of a 2-time national championship team where he came from, as a hungry wrestler that didn't want to make it, as somebody that just would make so many mistakes that just used excuses to move forward, to get out of it. I really tried my best, but I made more money bartending than I did I was going to go for the job that I was going to get. So I was like, you know, what am I doing? I'm just going to school for what? For wrestling? So I need to find something else that's going to test me. I need to do something with my life. I'm a very educated man. You know, it's funny, Ariel Helwani said something about why do you capitalize the first letter of everything? I do it just to piss people off. If you want me to write an APA format or MLA, I'll do it. You know, I'll give you a nice hypothesis with a thesis. I mean, straight up, and I'll support all my evidence. But the part is we're here to represent. I'm not fake, and I see this guy as a fake, trying to be something that he's not. I know where you come from. You lived in the suburbs too. Trust me, I know. We got people around the block that just, you know what I mean? So I don't have to be fake. I'm probably one of the most real. If people wanted an interview from me from Big Bear, they had to climb up 8,800 feet. So that's why I went up there, because I knew nobody was going to go up there.
This is a big fight for you. I mean, an interim title would mean a lot, but Conor McGregor's out there. The undisputed title is out there. You guys share a management team. I got to think you may have a little bit of insight. I mean, do you let yourself think about what's next? That, red panty night, so to speak, is it there for you? I mean, do you think about what comes after this?
Panties. I like blue panties. So, I mean, for me, you can fucking say that if you want, but, I mean, depending on whatever, I'm sure he wears panties now. You know what I mean? I mean, if you get to that certain spot in your life, he's going to be worried about me. Because if he wants to retire, if he's not going to defend a vacate, he's not going to try to fight me. There's no insider information. He's never spoken my name. I'm one of the most ruthless vatos out there, man. And this guy, he doesn't want a part of me. I'm not aiming at him. I don't give 2 fucks. I don't want to fight somebody that doesn't want to fight me or compete with some of the best. Because when you're saying I'll fight anybody, anytime, you're fucking full of shit. For me, I've been fighting anybody, anytime, any weight, straight up.
The last time we saw you fight, incredible performance. I mean, I think you turned a lot of heads that night. How are we going to see things go down on Saturday night?
The things with Khabib would have got his ass kicked, with all due respect. I just saw right through him, and I think I beat him. The art of fighting without fighting. It's amazing. Mental warfare, it's great. But this guy's a game opponent. Whoever's going to sign on dotted line, who is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee was the only one that had enough balls, enough gumption. I told him when I interviewed with Fox, I was like, look, you got to market yourself. You got to get some more fights, and you got to bleed a little bit more. Well, he's going to fight. He's going to bleed, and he definitely marketed himself to get this interim lightweight title. Nobody else was there.
All right, so that was Tony Ferguson, long-winded, rambling, as you guys set it up. Genius, as I said. But no, listen, all right, a lot of things to take out of there, but we've been talking about this fight a lot, and I do want to talk about the rest of the card a little bit. But I did want to ask you guys one thing. When he says, I got no inside info, I don't know what's going on with Conor McGregor next. I mean, they share a management team, and he says he's not even worried about that fight. He's not even thinking about it. He's focused on his own. You guys buy into that? Because I need to just straight up ask, and I don't know if Audie would be honest about it or not, but I need to just straight up ask him. Like, I have always felt that it would be in Audie's best interest as a manager to keep Conor and Tony away from each other, right? Because that just means one of them has to take a loss. And if they're both your clients, if you can find different paths for them, find different paths for them. But if Tony wins this fight, I got to say, man, like, I know the Nate Diaz trilogy is a money fight, but I think you can do that fight a year from now, 2 years from now. It doesn't matter. Like, I feel like if honestly, regardless, whoever wins this fight, I kind of feel like Conor's next fight really needs to be against the winner of this fight. Like, but make sure that title has relevance again, man. Get rid of this interim title. Make sure it's relevant again. So, I don't know. I mean, that could be we could talk for 30 minutes on that alone as far as, and we probably will when we do and a half, even though you won't be here. I might have to roll slow. We'll figure it out. But, bottom line, do you guys believe they share a manager? Do you guys believe that Tony Ferguson doesn't know what's going on with Conor McGregor next?
I could see not.
Yeah?
I mean, I could definitely see. I mean, because ultimately the manager, I mean, it's not like it's full disclosure. We're all on the same team. I'm going to fully disclose what's going on here and fully disclose what's going on here, especially in a situation like that where I think he understands the fact that he's going to have fighters that eventually are going to have to fight each other. It's just the nature of the game, or I would think that people would pick their clients, in different weight classes, but then you're going to limit yourself quite a bit, But I can also see where, if he has things in his workings, for one particular client, that it's not his obligation to share that with somebody else.
Right.
I'm sure he's probably saying enough to keep Tony happy, to sort of feel like he's in the loop, saying enough. But Tony's also saying the same things, and who knows what he's being fed. For the Tony always reiterates this, guy doesn't even want to fight in the thing. I don't want to fight a guy that doesn't want to fight in the division, So maybe he's being told something that's pushing that sort of mindset out in the first place, Maybe he's being told, we're not quite sure if Conor's ever going to come back. We're just going to see what's going to work next.
He makes it seem that way.
I mean, it certainly does. And I mean, like, his team toes the same line. Oh, it's just so exciting to see what could be the next thing. And they always keep kind of holding this thing over. So maybe he doesn't really know. But I can also see where, his manager's like, it's going to happen eventually. I can't do anything to stop it. I mean, if there's a possibility to do like a Diaz fight or something. But the options within the UFC to do something are very, very limited. It's going to get to the point you have to unify the belt like this interim and having these guys, in a sense, go on a reign, and there's two different belts. There's no darn reason for them not to fight each other. It's ridiculous.
For all we know, at this point, Tony's heard something or was told something, not directly or indirectly, that made him think, he's not going to fight in the division again. And for all we know, that could be predicated on, Jesus, I hate to say this, it could be predicated on, well, we're expecting George St. Pierre to beat Michael Bisping or some shit like that.
Right.
Or, like, who knows? Who knows at this point, And if GSP wins that fight, it's like, I understand it's 2 weight classes above, and it may not be a title fight, but it's like, well, GSP came back and he won a fight.
That would be crazy.
It would be
a natural 170-pounder.
It would be the stupidest thing ever.
Now, Michael Bisping also an Audio Talk client, but
I'm just saying.
But you never know.
I'm saying,
we're playing checkers. They're playing chess. We're playing chess.
Honestly,
they're 3 moves ahead of us.
The possibilities are
Let's be honest. We say a lot of crazy shit on this show, and it's happened multiple times.
In the course of a year, we went from this Mayweather fight will never happen to it's absolutely going to happen.
Yeah, like it's pretty unreal. So I mean, nothing is out of the.
But I'm just saying, for all we know, Tony's heard something along those lines where he's like, yeah, he's never coming back to 155.
All right, Demetrius Johnson, Ray Borg. Listen, we broke down this fight. We spent time talking about it because it was supposed to happen a month ago. Demetrius Johnson, the odds-on favorite, of course, man. He's a massive favorite, as he should be, against anybody in the division. The dude is a stud, man. Number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, in my estimation right now. Ray Borg, better than I think people give him credit for, but, dude, when you're talking about the likes of Benavidez and Cejudo, you know what I mean, and they've come up short, it's not a disrespect to Ray Borg to say, bro, I'm picking DJ. But let me just ask you guys. I mean, we stood in front of both men today. We talked to both men today. It's a weird situation. It's not very often we see, a fight of this magnitude, a championship fight, scrapped in the hours before it's supposed to happen and then rescheduled a month later. Did either of them strike? Did anything strike them about you as, like, different from the first matchup? You know what I mean? Like, Did somebody gain an advantage? Did they, did they physically look different to you? Did they mentally say something? I mean, is there anything that we could glean from a media day a month later that'll make you just, have a little bit of insight one way or the other? I mean, I don't think anybody's picking Ray Borg. I don't mean any disrespect. It's just picking against Demetrius Johnson is like picking against John Jones. It's like picking against GSP back in the day. It's like picking against Anderson Silva back in the day. It's impossible. So I'm not saying that, but did anything from either guy strike you as going like, that's interesting?
I mean, Ray has sort of exuded sort of a quiet confidence to me. Between listening to him during 215 Media Day, which I was not in Edmonton for that,
right?
And being around him today, I feel like there's a quiet confidence that we maybe are underestimating. I mean, it's not enough to where I'm going to pick him to win.
Right.
But I do think he's up for the challenge.
Definitely. I agree with that.
I definitely do. I mean, there are other, like,
he's not blinded by the spotlight or overwhelmed by the moment.
And look, I was in Kansas City for DJ's last fight against Wilson Heiss. I didn't get a same sort of vibe from Wilson, and we saw how the fight played out.
Right.
I did not get that sort of vibe. I kind of got the vibe that he said certain things, but I felt like he was very happy to be in the spot. And, he's an older guy. He was just happy to be in the spot finally. With this, with Ray, he's hungry, but he's not showing it so much that I think he's in over his head. I really sense a quiet confidence from him, if that makes sense.
No, I agree.
I guess you'd have to be around him to know that, but that's what I sense from him.
I assumed he'd come in with a chip on his shoulder, and I asked him directly that. Are you angry? Because people disrespected you. People assumed, you weren't sick. You just couldn't make weight.
Right.
He's got
that. He's got that extra motivation too.
And he said, listen, I'm putting that aside. I mean, if you have haters, that means you made it. You know what I mean? I can respect that. Cold Coffee, you were in Edmonton. I mean, so
yeah, you were there.
You spoke to both these guys a month ago. Did anything about their demeanors or anything? Again, at the end of the day, everybody's
what's changed in a month
Johnson,
for you?
But has anything changed?
Well, I mean, I definitely think they looked maybe more over it, a little less excited, just because I think there was such a build-up before. It was such a letdown that now when they got it, I mean, you got DJ who's going for history that has just resolved himself and completely happy to be sitting as the co-main event, and this is a guy that's been fighting for main events and getting more and more money. Now he's at the point he's like, I just want to get the fight. Like, let it happen. He's like, let these guys do their thing or whatever. But I thought Ray, looking at his face today, when I look back to how he was, because at the point we saw him at the open workout, granted we saw him at the open workout, he was sweaty, but he looked like he was dealing harder with a weight cut then. Mm-hmm. But he looked had a nice full face today, which makes me wonder how well the weight cut if he's just healthier and he came in so much better that we're not getting that sort of sunken feeling, look from him. I thought he looked really good today.
Simon, you're saying he's going to weigh 129 pounds.
I mean, I don't know what what he's saying there, but I'm wondering based on Kenny's saying that.
Did you guys think?
I thought he looked good today.
I thought he looked really, really good.
I thought he looked healthy.
I didn't
think he looked I didn't think. I mean,
I'm hoping it looked good. Doesn't mean
listen. I'm rolling
3 pounds overweight.
I'm rolling in the heavyweight division, so I'm not trying to talk about a flyweight looking a little heavy. But I thought he looked healthy today.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, like a lot of times when we see at this point, we saw what was going on with Kevin. Kevin looked like Kevin was having a harder cut. DJ doesn't have fucking bad cuts. Like the dude probably ate steak last night.
I'm pretty sure he said he had Oreos or something.
Yeah, I mean, like
yeah,
the
he's
dude,
ridiculous.
He's amazing what he's able to do. But looking at Ray looked like he's really whatever he's done with his weight. Because we know Ray's got, when it comes to coaching.
He looked lean, but not unhealthy.
Not unhealthy at any means. And he didn't look like he was sickly. Didn't look like he was battling anything. Granted, he didn't really look all that sick at the last event. You know, I understand those things can kind of pop up. But his face, he looked very, you know, like happy and in good mood. So hopefully all of his weight, maybe he's just better on weight. You know, hopefully that's not a matter of their thinking like, hey, we still got 2 days to dump this or whatever. But it just felt to me like they're ready to have this fight happen. I think DJ's, you know, he's half the time when you go into interviews with him, it's like you got to amuse him with a different story or a different question because he's had the same ones over and over and over. So I can understand why there's
11 title defenses now, basically 12 title defenses in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's got to be tough. But I mean, I think I'm excited to have that finally answered. I think, you know, as much as I dig Ray, I believe he believes wholeheartedly, and I know is with that team behind him, he's got all the right stuff in place to give it his best and to believe that he's going to do his best. But DJ still is at that level. I think maybe in a year or two we'll start looking at a DJ that maybe, I hate to even say it, like maybe is degraded a little bit, but we're not at that point because I think at some point his body, the wear and tear, I think that's the biggest battle in what DJ and those guys do so well is he maintains about keeping his body fitness. And if he's able to stay uninjured, he has the technical skills and to do everything. But if he starts losing a step somewhere because of the body starting to wear down, then we're going to start seeing. But I still think we're about a year or two out before we start seeing people see that to where that's maybe a problem for him. And right now, Ray, as confident as he is, because I fully believe he believes 100% he has the skills to give DJ that loss. I just don't think DJ's at a level right now where he can be beat by anybody in that division.
You know what's funny is outside of this fight, you said something that's interesting that we'll have to spend another time talking about, maybe an off week or whatever. You know, you talk about like Demetrius Johnson answering the same questions over and over, and sometimes I see like people frustrated.
I thought he was very good with you today.
You know,
I thought he was going to give you shit.
No, he was great. But no, I see like fans and stuff like frustrated, like, oh, it's the same question, same question. But you know what's weird? Like on fight week, I feel like you're kind of obligated to ask like fight-related questions. Like I don't feel like that's the right time to be like, let me think outside the box. And you know, we know Demetrius likes video games, right? But like, is, you know, 4 days ahead of a record title defense the right time to talk about?
It is time
like,
to get down to business.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We have to have some fight week stuff. We can't make the one opportunity where it's fight week and everybody that maybe, I mean, it's real. All the other weeks leading up, those are the hardcores. They're paying attention because they're eating this shit up. But fight week, that's the one chance where the people that don't know about the sport, that maybe are tuned in to this event for the first time because something just ticked off, you know, and they're just like, oh, hey, oh, wow, UFC 216 is going on. What's going on? Oh, DJ, I've heard that guy's name. Let's see what he's saying about this fight. And the only video would be about fucking Xbox questions. How ridiculous would that be? So it's like we got to think that, I mean, all of us and people listening to this thing, we all are in the bubble. So, yeah, we hear a lot of this stuff. So, yes, while it's exciting and we need to make up new questions to keep the guys excited, you have to do the due diligence for the fact that the other people that are coming in for the first time, especially during fight week, that's when they're going to come tune in. So you got to do that legwork, the low-hanging fruit, if you will, and ask those fight questions. I mean, as much to the chagrin of maybe some fighters like they're like, bro, you had me in L.A. last week, and now I'm here in town, and it's the same shit. Like, I guarantee the random...
tomorrow we got to do... Hey, listen, tomorrow we got to
do it again.
Open workouts, and we got scrums
I mean, like,
in front of the guys again.
The random fans aren't watching media lunches. The random fans aren't watching, you know, the media calls and hearing all this over again. So, like, this is the first chance. So we would be remiss. We wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't ask some of those questions. When you can fit the other ones in, great. But, you know, it is what it is.
Heavyweight fight. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm not even going to weigh in on this. You're a Derek Lewis expert, Cold Coffee. You've been following his career. Simon Samano.
That would just call me a fanatic.
Simon Samano,
I'm a
you
fanboy.
were
Derek
there
Lewis
for the whole
fanboy.
Fabrizio Verdum thing. So let's start with you, Simon. Fabrizio Verdum had a weird situation earlier in the week, right? It's been well played out there. He used Medicone as threw it out there. Obviously, that is not a word. And I guess it depends on who you talk to. My wife was born and raised in Mexico. I asked her, "What is your connotation with the word Medicone?" And she was like, "I would never use that word in my life." Now I will say this. My wife is hilarious because in English, which she's been speaking full time for the last 10 years, she'll cuss me out with no problem at all. In Spanish, she grew up very respectful with her Mexican family. She doesn't cuss a lot.
Right.
She thinks that she finds the word medicone extremely offensive. She's like, I would never use that. It's horrible. It's terrible. Some other people, Spanish speakers primarily, say it's not that big a deal. Fabrizio Verdum says it's not that big a deal. So anyway, that was the weird thing that started out the week. It's got to be a little bit of a distraction to him because he's had to deal with it over and over. It doesn't boil down to the fight, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's an intriguing fight because it's a hard-hitting Derek Lewis against a submission artist and Fabrizio Verdum. I mean, we know all that. But I just wanted to get your take of being in front of Fabrizio Verdum, hearing his explanation of how things come. I mean, you were there for the initial, salvo, I guess, and you have some Spanish as well. So
Yes.
it's not like these were words that you didn't understand. I don't know. What did you think? What did you think?
Homie?
I mean, I felt like we collectively, because we talked about it that the day of. Well, I felt like we collectively were one of the first MMA media outlets to pick up on the fact that he used the word maricon over and over again, and that's a word that people know even if you don't know Spanish. You know what that means,
Right.
You know that's the gay slur, the anti-gay slur in Spanish. The F word.
What did she say it was?
Same thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
same thing.
So his sort of
I asked
explanation
my wife, I
today
said,
was that kind of bullshit?
his explanation isn't necessarily bullshit because in Spanish, and I believe
Well, and it's not necessarily bullshit because how old are you?
35.
Okay,
You
you're
think it's maybe
42, 40. How old are you?
43.
43. I'm 39. When we were kids,
That word.
the F gay slur wasn't a bad word. I mean, it wasn't. It did kind of mean just like you could.
It
be
was
like,
a bad word, but it was used a
Yeah,
lot.
it was kind of like. I mean, who was it? Well, Dana White obviously got busted, but it wasn't like Eminem that got busted for using the word. And it was like, yeah, when you were a kid, you're like, don't be a F word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it was. You were saying. Now it's funny because Fabrizio said, oh, it means like bitch or pussy.
Well, that's
like,
the thing. That's a big
that's a
difference.
sexist term.
That's a whole different thing. Like, it's one thing where you have a term that, to say faggot when we were kids meant one thing, but now it's different. But he was saying it meant a whole different fucking thing.
But that to him, the definition that we used to have of it is the definition that he still has of it. So I mean,
there are
guess.
there are certain words in Spanish, and I'm sure maybe this might even apply to Portuguese as well, because in that exchange he did go from Spanish to Portuguese.
English.
But
And
he did that.
I stopped understanding him when he switched over to Portuguese.
But let's be real. We know Fabrizio knows full well what the fuck he was doing at the point. The dude speaks fluent enough English that he
said
could,
it like
he
9
could say
times,
it.
10
He could say it
times.
easily over and over. The fact that he was doing what he was doing, to me, just reeked that he was trying to be a little sneaky with the words he was saying. Like, if I say it in this language, most people won't know what I'm saying. I didn't feel like it was like, I'm so angry, I must lash out in multiple languages.
All right. Well, listen, I don't want to sit here and judge Fabrizio. I mean, we have talked about it, and I don't want to sit here and judge. But I guess here's what I'm getting at, Simon, because again,
By the
there's
way,
a lot of people.
I'm with your wife. I would never use that word either.
There you go.
And
So,
I'm a Latino as well. I would never use that word.
in this world, man, there's other podcasts, there's other analysts that can do so much better job of breaking down X's and O's. And hell, I mean, Dan Tom, tune into his breakdowns of things. I mean, he's what we like to do is just, man, hey, we were just there. We were 3 feet in front of this guy. You know what I mean? We were talking to him. We were asking. So I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, has this impacted, distracted, affected him anyway? I don't want to sit here and judge him. I mean, his language is his language or whatever. But I mean, what did you think? I mean, is he in the right mental space right now, thinking about that? Man, are people hating on me right now? Or are people doing? You know what I mean?
I think he's I think he's fine. I think he's in the right mental state. I think Fabrizio feels he was justified. I know he issued an apology. It may have rang a little hollow, though. You know,
Yeah.
I especially talking to him today and hearing from him today. Oh, well, I meant this word instead. Well, then why did you apologize for it last week? That doesn't make, or last week actually. Why did you apologize to it? I mean, he talked to Fernanda.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he apologized. But then this week he's talking again. He's not saying the same thing. It's like, well, I meant bitch, or you know, and like you said, well, okay, so maybe you're not homophobic, but maybe you're sexist instead.
We'll let Fernando weigh in on
I
that.
mean,
That's her
you know,
expertise.
like okay, but so I'm just like, I don't think he cares very much.
But you think it won't impact anything?
No.
I tend to agree with
I don't
you
think
on
he
that
cares at all.
Not his fight stuff or by any means.
All right, let's go to the
No,
Black
for sure.
Beast expert over here, Cold Coffee. Derek Lewis. All right,
The
listen.
newly found out vegan.
Yeah.
All right, that's hilarious. By the way, if you watch this video that we did on Derek Lewis being a vegan, we should say Cold Coffee got the tip off. Can we go behind the scenes? Can we pull the curtain back?
Yeah, why not?
You got the tip off from his coach, Crew Bob, that Derek is just kind of fucking with people this week and saying that he's a vegan. He's not really a vegan. Of course, he's not.
I don't know. Doing his tip that he said about taking like a chicken breast and rubbing
just
it on the vegan
hold
shit.
on, it was
Dude, I could
quote,
probably
hold
become
on.
vegan too.
Quote, rub it on vegan food. Whatever that means.
Amazing.
What does he do with it? What would you do with the chicken after? Just give it to your coach?
Discard it.
Here you go, coach. I rubbed it
You
on my
just
lettuce.
I mean,
Rub
what
it on
better way
vegan
to
food.
prove you're vegan than to throw your chicken away after you've rubbed it on your lettuce? All right, but no, listen. Okay, I should say the clips that we've seen of him training, right? Just the brief clips that we've seen. Dude looks like he's in way better shape. Like,
Quick
I
hands.
mean,
Quick hands.
Listen, you know what's interesting is because we were all sitting there earlier. And I think you might have already left Cold Coffee, but Simon, you were saying that like the fight against Mark Hunt, you were kind of impressed by Derek Lewis because you thought he fought well. That was one of the most depressing fights for me to watch. Now, I did think that his pacing was good, and we agreed on that. His pacing was good. He was trying to make sure he was ready for 5 rounds. But I thought just the way he was moving inside the cage, the way I was like, man, this is not Derek Lewis. And when he left the cage that night, man, I've said it multiple times, but the guy, just walking by press row. I mean, all you got to do is, there's hundreds of not hundreds, but there's several media members there. All you got to do is walk past them if you want to keep faking that you're okay. And he was too exhausted and hurt to fake it. He had to stop and lean against the octagon. But anyway, the guy seems like he's in better spirits. I don't want to take away. I don't want to steal your thunder, Black Beast
steal my
expert.
thunder.
But I don't know, Cold Coffee. What do you think? Listen, I'm picking Derek Lewis. I'm just tipping my cards right now, man. I'm picking Derek Lewis in the fight. All right,
I am.
You're not the expert. I'm the expert now.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just Derek Lewis fan.
Am I wrong that the guy does seem like in a way better space than we talked to him a couple months ago? I mean, we were there.
I think so, but I mean, I think too. I mean, even just the intangible things outside of fight, like a lot of life has happened to Derek. You know, the whole stuff that happened with Houston. I think his mind's in a different place to where and I think the biggest thing about Derek is that there's still a mental thing that I think he's dealing with when he gets into the octagon because he has all the talent in the world. We see his fight, we see his training, we see his hands, we see all this other stuff, and then a lot of times in the fight, you just see him either trying things that he probably shouldn't because he feels like he wants to be this well-rounded martial artist, and then other times you feel like he's not throwing the hands like he can because he just gets up into his head. And I think as time has went on, like we're seeing more of that whatever mental blockage going away, and he's becoming a smarter fighter. And we already know he's dangerous and he's devastating when it comes with his power when he lands. But I think too, the things that happened in Houston and the life and everything, he's just got married. He has a lot more to fight for now, and he also, I think, maybe appreciates what that fighting enables him to do but just as a break from just life and humanity. Like the dude saw a lot of tragedy and shit that was going on with the hurricane and the flooding and everything that happened down there. So I think he's coming in more focused, and I think we're seeing that hopefully the whatever's going on in his head, he's able to fully embrace, because also now I think he also realized that he's at the top of the pecking order. He needs to make sure he could show and pull all the tools out. So I envision that he's going to come in, he's going to be able to throw these hands. And if he lays any of those hands on Fabricio's done. The best part that Fabricio has is he somehow needs to get Derek to the ground, but he needs to maintain top.
Yep.
If Derek gets on top, the ground and pound's vicious, but also Fabricio is dangerous with his submission skills, so there's definitely a danger in that. So I think there's probably going to be a point where Derek is either going to battle in his mind whether he wants to keep it up and on the feet where he can do damage, or he's going to try to take him down on the ground where he could do devastating damage on the ground, but there's going to be that little battle. So hopefully he's able to make a decision and stick with it and let the hands go or let whatever game plan. Because I think what happens with him is he doubts himself throughout the round at some point, but he's tough enough to normally get through it. But I think with a guy like this and he's reaching the level of fighters that he's getting to now, and especially if he gets to a Francis Ngannou and those other cats, you can't have any doubt, or that's going to be enough to just allow them to either take the round, which eventually can get the fight, or they're going to finish him.
I love this fight for two reasons. Number one, just the X's and O's inside the cage. Like, it's striker versus grappler, no doubt about that. I mean, Fabricio's a better striker these days, but not the power of Derek. But, Fabricio is not a great takedown artist, but what he does really well is, capitalize on you throwing a kick, capitalize on you throwing a knee in the clinch, and getting you to the ground. He's not going to power double you like Brock Lesnar or something like that.
No.
So that's intriguing to me. But also, man, I feel like a make-or-break fight in a lot of ways. Not that these guys' careers won't go on. Of course they will go on for both these gentlemen, I believe. But I believe, this is a big, kind of like what lies ahead for you for both of these guys. I mean, so I'm intrigued by this fight.
I definitely see him as more. I think Verdum has more to lose in that aspect.
Because he's older. He's
older, but he was the champ.
Feel like,
I think people can look at Derek and still see him as a guy that's coming up, that has all the talent. And if he loses to a former champ, I could see, depending on how that happens, that still there's more upside for him in a loss than there is for Fabricio.
All right, let's do this, because my frosty beverage is getting empty, and unfortunately, since it's not Thirsty Thursday, which I've been made aware of,
you gotta watch what you order.
We don't get the service brought to us.
We don't get shit.
We have to go get it ourselves, which is very Thirsty Thursday, man. They just get
this
delivered.
is work for it Wednesdays.
This is work.
All right, well, listen. So I'm going to go re-up on this round of frosty beverages. While I do that, there's one other lightweight that I think makes a lot of sense to talk to right now, and that is Edson Barboza.
Oh, talk about a dangerous gentleman right there.
Dangerous dude right there. I mean, he's not in the discussion right now, and we're going to understand why. I had to get him on the phone. I talked to him this morning. And I just thought it made sense with all the things that's going on in the lightweight division. I mean, that's a guy that, oh my God, how exciting is he to watch fight?
Yeah.
And of course, Habib Nurmagomedov is right in the mix as well, but Edson Barboza's got to be right there as well. So I had a chance to talk to him this morning. He talked about, kind of what's been going on since the win over Beneil Dariush, why he didn't fight Justin Gaethje, why he's not involved in this fight, what he wants next. And I figured, you know what, since my frosty beverage is empty and I can't get any service around here because it's work for it Wednesday. Let's listen to Edson Barboza, and then we'll just make a quick run down the rest of the card. Well, let's just talk about it, Edson. I mean, what's this week like for you? I mean, there's a big interim title fight in your division. Two tough guys in the division, but you're not involved in that fight, man. Is it tough for you? Is this a difficult week for you?
Not really. I know. I'm close to the 30 shot. I know I will be my chance, and thank God, man. I think this division's locked, and I hope this fight get up, and I don't know if Mike Gregor will come back, but, man, I really don't worry about, I try keep my training hard. I train hard like always. Give my best in the training. I'm ready, man. I'm really ready for get my chance.
Very nice. Well, you've been out since March. You had a great win back there, but I understand you had some pretty bad injuries. I mean, what can you tell me kind of what's been going on and what you've had to do to get healthy?
Yeah, man. I was 2 weeks before my last fight. I feel a little bit, and I fought really bad. I have 4 different injuries in my shoulder.
Wow. And
I tore the tendon for the bicep. I broke a little piece of the bone of the shoulder, like a 2.5 centimeter bone, and a couple crazy injuries in my shoulder. But thank God I'm healthy right now. Last 3 weeks I will start training hard. I have to train hard to keep in push my training partners, everybody coming with Frankie, Eddie, Marlon, everybody have a very important fight coming up, and I have to help these guys, Like I said, I'm 100%. I'm really 100%. Thank God. It's a little slow recovery, but the doctor said that's the fast recovery ever. And I really don't feel nothing, 100% strong, no pain, and I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. What happened that your shoulder got so messed up? Was it sparring or wrestling or what happened?
Yes. Like a couple weeks before, I started feeling my neck a little bit, going down to my left shoulder, and I still worked hard, And I was sparring with my training partner. He shoot, I defend the takedown, and I hear my shoulder like a pop, pop, crazy pops.
Oh, terrible.
And I run. I have the video. I run to my head coach. Say, Mark, my shoulder pop. He said, okay, you want to stop? Say, no. Let's finish the round. And I do 3 more rounds with the one arm. And I come to my house. I can't drive. I can't lift my hands. First time I think about pull out the fight. That's the first time, but that's crazy. Right now I stop and think about it. Say, okay, so this is happen again. Probably go pull out the fight.
Yeah.
But I'm a fighter, man. I love the fight. I try, everything to fight. That's it.
I mean, so you had an impressive win over Beneil Dariush, but now, I think it's even more impressive. So how tough was it for you that night? Were you just in excruciating pain going out there?
Man, you have no idea. I was 2 weeks, I don't punch. I don't lift weight. I just run and do some positions because I can't lift my hand. And in the fight week, I train in the morning. I wake up, I train more, just sweaty with my clothes, and I say, fuck, I'm gonna throw hard in my front hand. And I throw first jab, I throw it, man, that's gonna be a hard night, man, because it's so painful. I was, like I said, all the game plan, throw a lot of my front hand, move to my left side, and I can't throw my left hand, That's the horrified of my career, because, like I said, I fall with the one hand, man. Very, very hard. And like I said, Beneil's very tough. Give me a hard time.
Mm-hmm. No doubt, man. Well, that makes the win more impressive. So, how did you get better, Edson? Did you have to have surgery, or was it just a lot of rehab? How did you get better?
Yes, I did the surgery in Florida with Dr. Galvin, the best guys on the business, on this business.
Nice.
And I was taking 6 weeks off, don't do nothing, and I start physiotherapy every single day and work very hard, man. I work harder than ever, I think, more hard than the train. I do physiotherapy every single day. I come into my house, I do physiotherapy by myself in my house, and I'm 100%. The doctor said, I can't believe you can't do this right now. I train, I do everything. I train everything 100%. I don't feel nothing in my shoulder.
That's amazing. So I know this summer there was some talk about you maybe fighting Justin Gaethje rather than Michael Johnson fighting him. But was this the reason that you couldn't take that fight?
Yes, but I was in Vegas. I said, if UFC really want, I want to fight. I talked to Don and Sean Shelby. He said, hey, man, you have to take care of yourself. That's more important than I did the surgery, But I was there, talked to him, me and my manager. I talked to the guys. He said, man, you need to take care of yourself first. And that's I don't fight with him.
Amazing. Smart play. Okay, so then you hear about this fight. You know that Tony Ferguson is fighting Kevin Lee for the interim title. Was your name brought up at all? Were you mentioned as a possibility for this fight? Was it still the healing that kept you out of this, or did they book this fight without you, and did that frustrate you at all?
Yeah, because I was there. I remember I talked to Dana White, talked to Sean Shelby, say, if you guys give me a chance for the title shot, I will fight with the Ferguson with the bad shoulder. I don't care. And he said, no, I don't know. say, yeah, man, you guys give me a chance. I do whatever I want, do everything to get better my shoulder, but I fall with this guy with a bad shoulder. The fight not happening.
Wow.
That's I did the surgery. Because it's, okay, you sure? Say, yeah, for sure. I was fight with him with a bad shoulder. And I know if I fall with him with a bad shoulder, I win the fight.
That's amazing. All right, well, so it sounds like you're healthy now, though. So let's talk about what time makes sense. I mean, when could you fight again? When would it make sense for you to get back in the cage?
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, I was 100%. 100%. I was sparring this week, good couple rounds with Eddie, training my training partner. I do everything, wrestling, strength, conditioning, everything. My shoulder don't bother me. Zero, I don't feel nothing. And I'm 100%. I just keep on training hard, and every single day talk to my man. They say, hey, come on, bro. Give me some fight. Some fight makes sense for me right now. Give me some fight to put me closer to the title shot. Or if or want to wait to get my chance to the title shot, because I'm ready for this. I think I deserve, man. I was in UFC for a long time, and I'm closer than ever. The title shot, I'm ready.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, let's talk about fights that might make sense. I mean, Khabib Nurmagomedov is a name that's out there. He's been hurt, he's been out, but a lot of people think that he's a top contender. Has that a fight that's ever been discussed? And do you think maybe that would be a fight that might make sense, like a number one contender fight?
I think so, man. My last two fights, I fought somebody behind me in the rank. And very risk fight, very dangerous guys, but I was there, I fighting, I don't care. I was improved all the time, man. I was, like I said, I have almost 20 fights in UFC. A couple weeks ago, I watched the rank, 15 guys. I fought with the 7 guys, the top 15.
Wow.
I fought with everybody, man. I think I deserve, man. I really deserve fighting with the number one contender or somebody in front of me or the title shot. I really deserve.
You like that matchup with Khabib? I mean, some people say that might be a bad matchup with his wrestling,
Definitely. I love, man. I'm a fighter, bro. I fight with everybody. I don't care. He's definitely one of the best on the division. I think this fight really makes sense for me. I'm ready. If UFC put this fight in the book, I'm ready.
I like it. Well, that may answer my question, but I'm sure you saw Mairbek Taisimov called you out. He said he'd like to fight. I think fans, I mean, I don't know if you know much about him, but he is exciting. I mean, I think it would be a fun fight. But as you said, he's also below you in the rankings. Do you feel like, would you be open to that, or do you feel like it just doesn't make sense because of the rankings?
Yes, like you said, man. I fought with my last two fights. I fought with very dangerous guy, very risk fight, and I won the fight and I don't move it on in the ranking. I still number 4, number 5. It's a lot of risk to nothing. I would say the same spot of more 1 year. I think at number 5, number 4 in more than 1 year. And don't move it on because I fought somebody in front of me. I want to move it on, man. I really want to move it on. I want to fight somebody, put me close to the title shot, put me in number one contender,
Definitely. Well, let's talk about this weekend. It's in Tony Ferguson, a guy you know very well. You guys had an amazing fight. Kevin Lee, a guy that's coming up the ranks. Some people are high on him. What do you think about this fight, man? How do you see this fight going?
And it's gonna be a fun fight, I think Tony Ferguson gonna win this fight because, like I said, I really don't understand. I don't know. I think it's hard to say he don't deserve, but he's a great fighter, But he's UFC. He did just a couple fights. He didn't fought any. Just I think his last fight against
Chiesa.
He's a top guy, but he fought nobody,
Yeah.
But I think it's not easy, but I think Ferguson gonna dominate this fight.
Yeah, I think it should be fun. So then let's look forward. Let's say Tony Ferguson does win. You've got Conor McGregor coming back from boxing. He's still got the title around his waist. So what do you think comes next? I mean, should Tony Ferguson, if he's the interim champ, or Kevin Lee, either way, should they get the next shot? I hear some people saying Nate Diaz should maybe get the fight. Let's do the trilogy. It'll make a lot of money. It'll be fun. Habib Nurmagomedov, he keeps saying he deserves the shot. Hell, you're out there doing some things. I mean, what do you think should come next in this division? Once we get past this weekend, what should come next for Conor McGregor?
That's crazy because you never know what's going to happen next, you know? This is crazy, I think, because Conor, you know, he's a lot of king. Get up, everything be better for us, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I really hope it, like Conor said, I hope he's back defending his belt as soon as possible. And because I want my chance, man. I really want my chance. I deserve it. I trained for this for a long, long time, and now's the time. Man. I feel better than ever, more motivation than ever, and I want my chance. I deserve it. I'm ready for this, you know.
What do you think about Conor McGregor? I mean, he wasn't even in your division that long ago, and now he's the champion, and he's calling the shots. And like you said, you've been around forever, fighting the best guys in the game 20 times in the UFC. Is it frustrating for you to see a guy like that, you know, become a huge superstar and make a lot of money, or do you respect him? Do you admire him? What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely not frustrating. I respect him, man, but if you know, you see like all the fighters, me, Khabib, all guys coming on this division for a long, long time. I think he's fight 155 just one time.
Yeah.
Yes, Eddie Alvarez had one fight on this division. You know, he's the champ. For me, he's not real the champ. No, he's never defend the belt. He's got the belt, but he's not the champ. I think the champ coming for this fight on this week. But like I said, he's a great fighter. I respect him. You know, he have his style. You know, he likes to talk. I really don't care who he is, but come on, man, he's a fighter. You have to prove he's a champ. You know, and he don't prove it for nobody. He's the real champ.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, we'll focus on your career. Sounds like you're healthy. You want to fight. I guess. Perfect scenario, Edson. What is next? Is it Habib next? Is it and when would it be? I mean, could we maybe get this at the end of the year in Vegas on December 30th? You know, a big card there, or do you want to wait? I mean, what is the perfect scenario for you?
Man, like I said, the perfect scenario for me is the fight that really makes sense for me right now. Putting me close to the title shot or the title shot. You know, that's one that's looking for. And, you know, if my man they talk to, I don't know, Dana or Sharp say better way away, or you guys give me a good fight, really makes it for me right now, I fight as soon as possible. And like I said, I'm a fighter, man. I love it. I want to fight, but I'm not stupid. You know? I want to fight somebody who really makes sense right now because everybody's way. Just me. I was, like I said, I proved all the time, man. My last two fights, I fought somebody behind me. These guys don't do this, man. Tell me one guy fought somebody behind me in the rank.
Yep.
I was fighting all the time. I fought with everybody. I never seen them for the fight. But, man, I want my chance. I deserve it, man. I really deserve it. That's I put in my mind. Like I said, I hope UFC give me a chance as soon as possible.
Tough to argue. I guess if for some reason they do have Conor and Nate fight for a third time, you know, just for the money of it and all that, I guess you would probably have no problem fighting for the interim title then. I mean, if you feel like Ferguson and Lee is the real title shot, you would fight for the interim title too.
I think that's really perfect. You know, like I said, if UFC asking me to fight for the belt, for the real champ, I prefer to fight one of those guys. Because like I said, McGregor for me is not the champ. He has the belt, but he's not the champ, not a real champ. You know, I was fighting for interim belt for sure.
I like it. All right, Edson. Well, I appreciate the time, man. Any other, you know, thoughts or messages or anything that we didn't cover that you want the fans to know about? Yes,
I'm here. I train harder than ever. I promise for you, for everybody, next fight you're gonna see the best Edson Barboza ever step in the octagon.
All right, Edson Barboza, another big name in the lightweight division. Now, listen, I like what he's saying. Listen, if Conor does get the winner of this fight, then yeah, I think it does make some sense for him to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. If there's the Nate Diaz trilogy, then yeah, I like the fact that he'll say I'll fight for the interim title and not, necessarily disrespecting Conor, but saying this is the real title fight to me. So I dig it, man. I dig it. Edson Barboza, man. Who isn't signed up for an Edson Barboza fight, man? I mean, you're gonna watch that guy anytime. All right, no disrespect to the ladies on the card, but gotta say that probably most people aren't incredibly interested in that fight. And again, I mean that is no disrespect, but we didn't even know they were going to be at Media Day, to be honest.
We didn't.
If we're
they
just
didn't
honest,
tell us.
It wasn't even on the PR schedule, and they were just there.
They did not tell us.
Beneil Dariush, Evan Dunham, like both these guys, man. Beneil, it was funny in our interview today. He made it a point to point out that I let him sit next to me in Singapore so he could watch the RDA fight. So hilarious because he's a buddy of RDA's. Obviously, they trained together under Rafael Cordero. But it was funny because he wanted to sit down and watch the fight, and we were literally in RDA's corner, which was cool. So he was like, perfect. But he was yelling out. He was yelling out instructions from press row, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that. Like, the commission is not going to allow you to do that. And and he did. He got kicked out. But it was funny to see Evan Dunham, meanwhile, a guy that's been around forever. It's just one of the grittiest dudes you'll ever meet. Runs a jiu-jitsu school now here in Las Vegas. Of course, he was affected as well by everything that happened here. I've always been a big fan of Evan Dunham. Just happened to be at his final fight before the UFC when he was at Tachi Palace Fights. I was there calling that fight and had a chance to talk to him. And, so I've always been a fan of him, seeing him come up. But I selfishly, I hope this fight goes to the ground. I hope these two dudes duke it out in jiu-jitsu. I know it's an MMA fight, but I hope they do some jiu-jitsu.
It's one of those rare fights where I would not mind seeing a grappling match.
Right? I would love it, dude. Don't even throw a punch.
I think you'd see some great transitions, some holds that are
touch gloves,
oh my gosh.
Sit down on the ground and go to your knees and start going at it. I love it. All right, listen, the preliminary card, Tom Duquesnoy versus Cody Stamann. Tom Duquesnoy, everybody is high on this kid, and I am too. I mean, the guy really does look like the real deal. Certainly coming out of France, a burgeoning scene there. He seems like the real deal, but they put him up against a tough kid, man. Cody Stamann in his UFC debut against Tyrion Ware, that was a great fight. Probably a lot of people didn't watch. I mean, it was on the undercard. I am really looking forward to this fight. I'm not going to lie. Will Brooks, Nick Lentz, that's a grinder against two former ATT guys. I mean, you got some teammates there, former teammates, I should say. Yeah. But, they've trained together before. I mean, this could be incredibly interesting there. Bobby Green, talk about the definition of hot and cold, man. That guy is on point some days and not so much on others against Lando Venata, who, God, talk about Tony Ferguson, the past there. I mean, Lando Venata has looked amazing even in defeat, but now he's 1-2 in the UFC. Is he the real deal or not? So I don't know. Talk to me, guys. What's standing out to you? I can keep going. Magomed Bibulatov versus John Moraga. That's a great flyweight fight. Talis Laitis, Brad Tavares. I mean, veteran middleweights. There's a lot of shit to pick from here, guys. There's a lot. Nothing that the casual fans order in the pay-per-view for, but talk to me about this prelim card. Simon, what's the one that's standing out for you? Because, by the way, since my man Cole Coffey is going to Brazil, I'm going to be sitting in the back. I'm going to be the B team JV squad camera guy sitting in the back.
I thought you were going to say the person
Samano.
in the back was the B team.
No.
Like,
I'm saying dude, we got the A team and you is gone, so I got to fill in his JV squad. Simon, hopefully they'll give you my seat. I hope
hopefully I'm hoping they do.
So you're gonna be cage side.
First time at T-Mobile. Give it to him.
First time at T-Mobile. This is true.
First time at T-Mobile. Wait a minute. By the way, I should say earlier. Cole Coffey, you were gone. Simon Samano and I walked out and touched the ice at T-Mobile. That's the first time I've ever seen the ice.
Yeah, nice.
The first time I'd ever seen the ice at T-Mobile.
They let you out there?
The rink for my adopted Vegas Golden Knights.
He's taking the Vegas Golden Knights.
I'm going to adopt him as my NHL team.
Not the Don't you have the LA Kings?
I can't. Okay. Just real quick, I don't have it in me to root for an LA team. I'm a Bay Area guy. I'm a Giants fan.
Wow.
And by extension, I'm a Niners fan. I'm a Niners fan as well. So by extension,
I do remember about that.
I cannot root for as a fan of San Francisco teams. I cannot root for an LA team.
I dig it. All right, give me what you're pumped up about. Give me a story that you're looking to follow. Give me something. I mean, we spent a lot of time breaking down the main card and what looks to me like an awesome main event. But tell me what you're pumped up about on this prelim card.
I mean, I am looking forward to see what type of Bobby Green shows up. He's definitely fighting. I think he's fighting for his. He's lost 3 in a row.
I agree.
He is fighting for his spot on the roster.
Yep.
So, and it's definitely not going to be easy against Vanata here. Again, I last saw apparently I'm showing up to fights where these guys are at. I last saw Bobby Green at UFC on Fox back in Kansas City in April. And he just like totally gassed out in that fight. I mean, he completely gassed out against Magomedov. So look, I that's one thing that I'm looking at. I know this isn't on the prelim card, but we didn't really touch it. Dunham and Dariush is a fight that I'm really excited about. I would love to just see that be a grappling match.
I do too.
I think Dunham is in a position where, for some reason, I think he's in a late stage of his career, but he really wants to. He's hitting the gas. Like, I think he wants to go and try and figure out what he can do next. So I'm really excited about that fight. Those are two fights that I'm really excited about. I'm really excited to see about. We didn't even touch on Pearl Gonzalez. We did not.
We would like to touch on Pearl Gonzalez.
Wow. He went. How many frosty beverages?
MMA skills are very, very.
Coffee.
We can't talk about her skills. MMA. I was talking about
cold
MMA
coffee
skills.
at coldcoffee.com.
I think you guys have dirty minds.
This is Pearl's first fight since the whole since the whole UFC, the whole New York
debacle,
NYSAC.
the New York debacle.
I should say, I did see her tweet after the shootings on Sunday night, not to circle it all back to there, that she was there like 15 minutes before it happened.
I
at
saw
the
that.
She had
concert?
just left like 15 minutes before the shooting happened. So, I mean, that could have changed the dynamic of everything. I mean, well, I don't even want to go into that, but if something had happened, I mean, then you start really looking at canceling an event. It should say on the other side of that fight, though, Pauliana Botello, Fernanda Praches wrote a nice in-depth article. It's none other than John Anik, who's going to be on the call.
Gave it a shout out.
Gave it a shout out, man, and I think that's cool. I can respect. Thank you, John Anik, so much for doing it. And then honestly, and I've said it before, but like I love writing stories about these undercard people, and I know it sucks because they don't get the clicks. But to me, like those are amazing stories because we can write a story about Fabricio Verdum. How many? I mean, other than what happened this week? I mean, can you come up with an angle that hasn't been written about Fabricio Verdum? No. I mean, so take a minute, people. Sometimes click on these stories. God damn it! Even if you don't read it, just click on it. Walk away from your computer so that we can pretend like you read it. From our statistical analysis, and then come back and click on something else just so you can support journalism of people talking to people.
MMA journalism, damn it.
Damn right. All right, Cold Coffee, anything you're looking forward to, man? I mean, well, hell, you're not looking forward to anything.
He's
you're going to be in Barcelona.
But
you're looking at
I'm going to try to see
Pearl Gonzalez is what he's looking for.
I was just
looking forward
talking about her skill set, her
you
great
were.
pair of skill set.
How about the big ticket, Walt Harris?
I was going to say Walt Harris. Like, Walt Harris is my boy, man. I'm looking forward to that fight.
Walt Harris is he's a junkie faithful, man. Yeah. He did give us a lot of props last time.
But the latest Tavares fight, that one I think is going to be a pretty fucking spectacular fight. Besides that, Moraga, I think this is a guy with a chip on his shoulder that always wants to come out looking to prove himself, and I think that's going to be a tough fight.
God damn, dude, Moraga.
That's a good card,
Moraga fights literally, like, it's his job to fight the toughest dudes in the flyweight division that nobody knows.
Yeah.
It's insane, the people he fights.
But, and another one.
Like, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, let's bring it on.
Yeah, Nick Lenz and Will Brooks. I think that's going to be a good one. But, if I had to pick one from the prelims, Harris for sure, and the Lati's fight I think is going to be good. But Moraga, you can't sleep on that one either.
It's
a decent card, man.
It's a solid card, man.
It's a decent card.
I can tell you what, there's not one fight on here where I look
Bobby
at it
and Green, man, I'm telling you. And that's a cat I've been watching since Strikeforce. I remember going to his Strikeforce things, and he was just so thankful that somebody was like paying attention to the Strikeforce shit at that point, and he's a guy that's fully embraced coming over and really making a scene, and Venata's a fucking beast as well. I mean, that's a good.
It's a solid card.
It's a solid card. I mean, it's
bottom.
unfortunate that numbers aren't really, aren't that great because when you look at a card, it's a good card. But I mean, when you have a lot of cards that are stacked because they're great fighters, I mean, it's tough to have people keep reaching in their pockets for $60 time after time after time. But this is a good card that I think people that do make the effort to pull out the wallet, I think it's going to be one that's going to be good.
I agree. Well, listen, I'm going to try to sneak in a little and a half episode. You, Cole Copy, have said that you were going to take a computer on the road.
I am going to take a computer.
All right, finally, things are better in my personal life now. I've got a little more spare time to myself. I'm gonna do an and a half, and you're gonna possibly edit things.
It just there might be a slight delay.
A slight delay.
Like let me see. Time in Spain right now. It is 7:00 in the morning.
No, dude,
so
you'll be waking
10,
up in the morning.
So it'd be 9-hour difference.
Yeah, I'll just ask you to cancel your lunch plans.
Yeah.
And we'll get it done.
I'm like, I won't be anywhere in Spain.
All right, well, listen, we got to wrap up because, first of all, it's about to be Thirsty Thursday. We've been sitting here talking so long.
I got some packing and stuff to do.
You got packing to do. You got a flight to leave. I mean, your flight literally leaves in like 6 hours, so you got to get the
Well, I got to go to the airport in like 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So your flight doesn't leave for like 10.
He's got to do some packing.
10 hours.
He's got to pack up.
Me?
9 hours. I'm terrible at math. 9 hours.
We got to let Simon Samano go home. Poor guy didn't even know what he was getting dragged into.
Yeah.
Hopefully he had a good time.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Feedback, reviews, iTunes, Audio Boom, all that shit, whatever. We're unprofessional. Thanks for listening.